According to that law, what happens if you put a balloon in a freezer? What should it do?
It shrinks.
Yeah, so it would be valid. And if I said the balloon will expand, then it would be what? Invalid, because I'm not using the law right. Everybody got that? Okay. I have smoked a lot of weed in my day, and it never made me paranoid, except that is when I smoked weed I bought from Steve. In fact, every time I smoked Steve's weed, I got real paranoid. I even conducted a controlled study to determine whether there was something kinky with Steve's weed. I think he was trying to turn me into a zombie so I could be his mule. Unbeknownst to them, I hooked some of my friends up with some of Steve's weed and others with whatever else I had on hand, anything besides Steve's weed. I surveyed their impressions the next day. Everyone who smoked Steve's weed reported paranoia, whereas no one from the control group reported the least bit of anxiety, much less paranoia. Hence, it's safe to proclaim the following universal law of nature: imbibing Steve's weed produces paranoia. Call this finding Ganja 1, a law of nature, ever there were one.
Inductive 2.
Inductive 2.
Scientific.
Yeah, it's just, inductive 2, a scientific law. Strong or weak?
Weak. I mean.
What do you mean?
It's
I have a control group and everything.
Oh yeah, it's.
Well, maybe we need someone to replicate it, but I'm thinking small. Okay. 17, don't smoke that. That's some of Steve's weed. Give him Ganja 1, you'll end up paranoid if you hit that.
From a scientific law.
From a scientific law, and so that'd be a deductive from a scientific law and valid or invalid.
Valid.
Yep. Oh, I don't know about 18. If it's possible that it's necessary that God exists, then God exists. It's possible that it's necessary that God exists, therefore God exists. Yeah. Okay.
Of certain form.
Yes, very good. Deductive by virtue of its form. It's one of these. Yeah, modus ponens. It's a if then. If this, then that, this, therefore that. So you didn't even really have to understand what the words are saying. You notice, hey, there's an if then, and then they say the antecedent, and they conclude the consequent. Right?
Yeah, I was caught up on the words.
Yeah, so look, that argument is called the modal argument, the modal ontological argument for God's existence. Okay? And that's deep territory. If you want to study stuff like that, I cordially invite you to take Philosophy 341, which is philosophy of religion. And you get to talk about God's omnipotence, heaven and hell, and the modal version, blah, 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 blah. So that takes us.
So it's valid.
It's logically valid. Okay, whether or not the premises are true is something else altogether. What time is it? What time do we get out? 2:45. So look, this is baby logic. Some people don't even want to call this logic. Okay, but there's something called modal logic. There's all sorts of levels of logic above this, where the logical structure is contained within the statements. You know what I mean? And up and up and up. And there's one level of logic called modal logic that deals with statements involving possibility. It's possible that, and then it's necessary that. Okay, and they talk about when you can make valid inferences about possibility and necessity. So this argument goes like this: if it's possible that, it's necessary that God exists, then God exists. So the general idea is that if it's possible that it's necessary that X, then X. okay? And then they say, well, it is possible that it is necessary that God exists. Therefore, God exists. Okay. That's called the modal version, the ontological argument. This is true if it's necessary that X, then X. Does everybody understand that? It's possible that it's necessary that X, then X. That's no good, okay? And this premise is, they keep building these more complex systems of logic, and this is called S5, when they add this in, and S5 is poo-poo, right? Because look, I could say it's possible that it's necessary that God does not exist, therefore God does not exist, and it's possible it's necessary that God does not exist, so then I get what? God does not exist, right? So there's something wrong with S5 if it can equally prove God exists and what? God doesn't exist. And so the real problem is this. There's different ways in which you can think about possibility. Something can be logically possible or not, right? And then something could be epistemically possible or not. What do I mean by epistemically? It's like when someone says it's possible, they're saying, for all I know. Does everybody understand that? For all I know. Well, this should be contained to logically possibility, but when you get down here, and able to assert this, people equivocate and they're saying, for all I know, it's necessary that God exists. And then, you know, if it is necessary that God exists, well then he would exist. But all you're saying is, for all I know, it's necessary. So, for all you know, it might not be necessary. Or it might be necessary that God doesn't exist. So there's an equivocation on the possibility operator, but I'm sure you didn't want to hear about that when you came in here today. What number are we on? 19. This is my complaint. If a system of modal logic implies the modal version of the ontological argument is valid, then that system is bankrupt. A system of modal logic, S5, implies that the modal version of the ontological argument is valid, therefore S5 is bankrupt. If you diagram that, what would you see? You'd see it's a modus ponens. So that's deductive by virtue of its form, okay? And now look, I have owned 5 golden retrievers. 4 of the 5 dogs develop hip dysplasia. Hence, golden retrievers must be prone to hip dysplasia.
Inductive.
What kind?
General.
Generalization, yeah, that's right. I took a sample of golden retrievers, small, right? And I made a conclusion about all golden retrievers. Since my sample size was so small, we should probably say that this is what? Weak. Does everybody understand that? Okay. 21, king cobras are the most intelligent species of snake. Viper Keeper, the dude with the YouTube channel, says so. Viper Keeper has owned hundreds of snakes and co-authored peer-reviewed papers concerning snakes.
Inductive to authority.
Inductive appeal to authority, strong or weak?
Strong.
It's Viper Keeper, man. He knows everything about snakes. He's got peer-reviewed papers. Yeah. And I did put in a plug for watching Viper Keeper, right? That's a real YouTube channel. His wife has cancer right now, so he's not posting new videos, but you can go back and watch the old ones, and it's just crazy. He's got like hundreds of snakes, and all of them are venomous, like, such that he has his own refrigerator full of anti-venom. So it's like, there's tags on the tanks, it's like blue. It's like, oh, I got bit by a blue, go get the blue anti-venom and go to the hospital because they're not gonna have it, right? Because most hospitals don't carry stuff, for, venomous snakes from Australia. Benny is willing to bet that the top card on the shuffle deck is a spade. Chances are Benny is wrong since only a quarter of the cards on the deck are spades.
Probably.
Yeah, so that's inductive, right? And is that a strong or weak argument? We're saying chances are that he won't draw a spade, and the chances are 75% that what? He won't draw a spade. That's pretty good, so I would say that's what? Strong. Okay. I finally found an ad for a car that I would like to restore, 1972 Dodge 510, Datsun 510. The ad says it has been sitting outside for the last 20 years in a field on a Louisiana rice farm. Given the humidity of Louisiana, the car must have rust issues.
Inductive cause and effect.
And strong or weak?
Really strong.
Yeah. Everything rusts here, jeez. Bro is going to win first place or second place in the state chess championship. If Bro wins the tournament, his expenses to nationals are paid. If Bro places second in the tournament, his expenses to nationals are paid. Bro's expenses to nationals will be paid. Form, yeah. And so it's deductive. And when it's deducted by virtue of form, it's automatically valid. Okay?
We don't have to say like, we never have to
No,
say
you don't have to say. And I think that I supply a list, I don't know, I'll have to go look, of the different argument forms that you'll be held responsible for. I mean, there's a whole bunch, and I think I actually limit it to a subset, right? Be on the lookout for these 5 or 4 or 6 or whatnot.